Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, I didn't like this movie. I'm gonna start off with that. I didn't like this movie, and I usually tried not to do reviews of movies I don't like unless it's like I feel like there was some redeeming things, or sometimes I do want to like complain about how dumb I think a movie is or whatever. But I try not to. But the reason I'm doing that for this movie was because I'm trying to do all the movies in the 28 Days Later series. This one, I think the other one I watched like a couple of weeks ago, because I'm watching these with my mom and she's been kind of busy, so I had to find a time when she was available so we could watch this one. And then it's probably going to be at least like 3 weeks or something until I get to watch 28 Years Later, because she'll be busy again. But I'm mentioning about those times just because you're like getting these videos kind of one after another. So if it's suddenly like I'm like really forgetting details about whatever happened in the last one or something, or things that were supposed to be important, or certain characters or whatever. I mean, I usually forget things anyway between sequels, but like if it gets like really bad, it's because I'm kind of being forced to wait like a significant amount of time in between when I'm watching these, because I'm like watching them with someone else, you know? Yeah, I didn't like this one. I liked the first one. I think it's just, this one felt like a generic sequel. Like if it didn't have the title, or if they didn't mention the like rage virus or anything, or the fact that they're like all they're all like in England when this is happening and it's only the zombies there, I would have, and you like put this on in front of me, I would have just thought it was like a generic zombie movie. It doesn't have like the same vibe as the first one at all. I liked the first one in that it was like the start of the zombie apocalypse, which I know this is a continuation, so it can't like completely have that same vibe, but it was just like this small group of people. There weren't really like a ton of zombies or anything. The world hadn't like completely gone to shit. Their encounters with zombies felt like kind of structured encounters, in that it was just kind of like every once in a while, and that was really like the challenge of that movie, was trying to find safety. And when they found safety, it turns out they didn't, with the whole like military base thing that ends up going bad. But you know, that was like the challenge of that movie, was the like zombie encounters and stuff, of like how do we get out of this situation and whatever. And it was just like a small group of strangers and stuff. And then this one has just so much else going on. I mean, I was a little disappointed with the first movie that there wasn't as much zombies as I thought, but it had this kind of like empty vibe of like this one location is just, this island has been abandoned and stuff, and there's no people around. It's kind of like a ghost town sort of vibe. And then with this one, it's that they end up bringing back, like letting people back into England and stuff, and that the last of, because the thing with the first movie was like, oh, the military was curious about how long it would take for the zombies to like potentially starve and die off, and that would be the end of it. And the zombies actually do starve and die off, and you think that's the end of it, so they start like bringing in people, and the American military shows up, because I guess they're the ones that are in charge of the whole operation, because you know there's like a ton of people in England dead now, so they're kind of in charge of everything with all these soldiers and stuff. And then the infection starts again. I don't know if it's like a stronger version or something, but the reason it's just like the way it starts, and the characters who are at fault are kind of like stupid in a sense, that where it's like they have good intentions, but it's like still kind of just stupid, and then it just restarts the entire infection, and then now there's like zombies everywhere and or not everywhere. I mean, at the end of the movie, apparently the zombies end up in in Paris, so it's not just like England that's infected anymore, but it's like they're back to square one at a certain point in the movie. I was wondering before I saw it, because I saw the poster, because I was like trying to look up how many movies there were, and the reason there's someone with two different colored eyes on the poster, I didn't really think anything of that, is because that ends up being super important, that people who were like that, there's like something in their DNA that causes them to be just completely immune to the virus, but instead they end up becoming carriers. So if they have like blood or mouth-to-mouth contact with somebody, it's over. They spread the disease, which actually sounds terrifying, because like they don't know. It's only like the scientists that know. It's like one scientist who like figures this out, but like the actual people who are immune don't know, and because they're not told this information, so they have to like watch everyone die around them. So it's kind of sad in that sense, but that's like a key thing in this one. But yeah, it's basically that these people are allowed to go back to the island. I felt like the timeline of this, even though it's called 28 Weeks Later, was like kind of confusing, where it's like it starts off with this flashback, which I think is supposed to be within like the first 15 days of the zombie stuff happening, which means that it takes place like before the start of the first movie, or not before the start, but like before most of the events, or like any point with Cillian Murphy in the first movie. It's like before any of that, I guess, of like this couple, and the zombies end up attacking their house, and this guy ditches his wife. But one of the things they mentioned in the movie, and I thought it was just like a one-off thing, I didn't realize how actually important it was they look at a photo of their kids and they're like, thank goodness we paid for that school trip. So their kids like aren't in the country at all. And I thought that was just a one-off thing. I thought it was going to set up like that these people were going to die, or that one of them was going to survive, and maybe they're like fighting to the zombies so they can like get to go find their kids later or something. I thought it was going to be something like that, but no, their kids are actually the main characters, where it's like, yeah, this guy abandons his wife, and I thought that was going to be more important too. It ends up causing like a bit of tension between the guy who's like a dad, the dad and his kids, later on, because he like abandons his wife. Okay, the whole thing, it's like kind of funny to me in a way of like, there's this like random kid that ends up coming into their like safety house or whatever, and the mom is like super protective of this random kid she just met, which is like fair. Adults, especially in like movies and stuff, in these kind of situations, you gotta protect the kids first and stuff. So this like random kid, and he's hiding in a closet, and she's trying to get him to come out of the closet, and she goes towards him, and then the dad just abandons them both, and the kid ends up dying off screen anyway. From that point on, he's never mentioned again, and that's the thing that kind of actually, I think, starts the chain of events in its own way, because it's like that mom that was trying to protect him is immune, but she ends up being a carrier or something. She ends up hiding out in like her old house. Her children end up finding her, and that's what ruins everything, because some of the scientists that are in charge of the whole like, okay, we're gonna bring people back into England that had left, which includes these like two kids that were on their school trip to Spain or something, and these scientists are like, hey, and doctors and stuff are like, hey, why are we letting children back in? It's not safe yet or whatever, but they let the children in. And I guess these are like the only two children in the entire movie or something. I don't think you ever see any other kids. I mean, besides the boy at the beginning of the movie, but he just exists in a flashback. He's not important. And then the kids end up, because they're like dumb kids or whatever, they end up running off. It's like a 12-year-old boy, and he is immune just like his mom, and there's a girl. I don't know if she's immune, but she doesn't have different colored eyes, so I'm assuming not. It's like his older sister. She's probably like in her teens or something, and they just want to go get a picture of their mom because their dad tells them this like dramatic story of like, I saw her get bit by a zombie, it was too late, and then I went to go back for her and she was gone, even though he like literally left his wife behind, which is such a dick move. It wasn't even the kind of situation, you know how sometimes it is for couples in a movie where one of them is like, you know, knows they're gonna die and they're like, go, it's okay. It's like, no, he could have left with his wife and that kid if he like waited a couple seconds or tried to help them or something. They weren't really, he just panicked that the zombies were coming, and he runs out of the house in the flashback and his wife's banging on the window like, hey, what the hell, you left me in here, you know, and then she's gone. So he just straight up abandons his wife. It's like total dick move because he panics. He gets haunted about it by the rest of the movie, but still, or it's more like he's haunted by her eyes. It's kind of a weird thing. But yeah, he just straight up like tells his kids like this story of basically, you know, trying to not come out as a coward that left his wife behind, and then they find the wife and they tell their dad and they're like, what the hell, Dad, you told us she like died in front of you or whatever, and he's like, no, I didn't say those exact words, whatever. And I was hoping like the entire movie that this guy was gonna get killed by a zombie because for leaving his wife behind like that, and then having the balls to like lie to his kids. He does get killed by a zombie, but he becomes a zombie. He becomes a zombie and somehow has the ability to like remember shit. It's really weird. I'll backtrack to that though. But yeah, the kids go to try to find the mom, and the military just lets them do that. Jeremy Renner plays, he's like the main character basically, him and these like two kids, and this one doctor who's also played by someone well known, but I don't remember who it is. I think her name's like Rose. Anyway, the actress, not the character. I think the character's name's Scarlett actually. Anyway, yeah, Jeremy Renner's character, I can't remember the name of the character, so I'm just going to refer to him as Jeremy Renner's character in this movie. He sees the kids leave because they're not supposed to go off into like a specific area, like outside the safety zone, and they go to their old house and they try to get a photo of their mom because the 12-year-old has this fear of like, you know, our mom's dead. What if I never remember her face again? Which, you know, that's fair for like anyone, not just like kids, that you lose someone close to you and you're worried you're gonna forget what they look like or things about them. So they go to the house, except their house is in the not safety zone, but they sneak off anyway, and Jeremy Renner's character literally sees them in his, because he's like a sniper or something, and he literally watches them leave and he lets them go. I mean, I didn't expect him to like shoot them or anything, but I thought maybe he'd, I don't know, shoot near them as like a kind of a warning of like, hey, what do you know, we can like see you, where the hell are you going? Because they're like quarantining these people for, you know, their own safety and everything, of like, it's not safe out there. I mean, from the military's perspective, it's that, you know, the last of the zombies died off the infected like 6 months ago or whatever, so supposedly there's none left, but like, you don't know what the hell is around in those abandoned houses and everything that zombies were in, especially because the whole thing with the virus that the characters know is that, yeah, it spreads from, or I'm assuming they know. The characters were kind of stupid in this, so I don't know if they were aware. I mean, the characters in the first movie figured it out really fast, so I'm just assuming because, you know, the military, the American military is there, and they have a scientist that figures out what the cure is, but she doesn't really tell anybody, or she tries to, but they don't really listen. That they'd figure out it like spreads from blood or saliva and stuff. But yeah, the kids go and they find their mom, and the mom, you know, she's immune, she got bit, she has like scars from it or something, but she's a carrier, and no one knows she's a carrier except for like one person who figures it out, but it's like exactly the point where it's too late. So the mom, like, they ask her if she's been bitten or anything, and she doesn't say anything, but like they do like a medical exam on her, and they see the scars of like where she was bit. It's like these marks that are in a circle or something. So it's like, why are they so lenient about this? And anyway, then the dad, I think he feels bad or something about leaving the mom behind, so he goes to where she's being kept because he has like all access pass or something. He's not someone important. He's like a security guard type person, not I mean the not important in that he's not like a doctor, he's not the military, he's just like some guy, you know, but he has this new job now where he has this all access pass. Or I don't know if his job specifically security, it might have just been like keeping people out of certain areas, or it's something that lets him have like an all access pass, which I feel like normal people, survivors and stuff, shouldn't have that access. I feel like it should be like the military and medical professionals only, but whatever. And also the mother, you know, because she's like the first person they found that's a survivor in like 2 months or something. You'd think they'd keep like an eye on her, have like a guard station outside or something, but no. And the dad's able to get in, and he kisses her, and it causes him to get infected. And then he turns into a zombie, and then he kills her, and then he leaves, and that's it. And then he starts killing people and biting them, and the infection freaking spreads from there. I was disappointed in that. I hoped there was going to be more drama or something of like, you know, the dad left his wife behind, and the kids found out he lied about that, about her being dead, and now the dad and the mom get to encounter each other again. I thought the mom was going to kill him. I hoped the mom was gonna kill him because he deserved that, but no, instead she has to watch in horror as her husband just suddenly turns into a zombie out of nowhere, and then he bites her in the neck and kills her. And they do the freaking the eye thing, the thumb eye thing again. If you watched my video on the first movie, 28 Days Later, you'll definitely hear me talk about that. But they do this thing in both movies where it's like a zombie kills someone. Or no, in the first movie it's Cillian Murphy killing a zombie, and in this one it's a zombie killing a person by sticking their thumbs inside their eye sockets, and there's like a close-up of it, and it's just like, oh, that kind of stuff. I mean, these are zombie movies, so of course you expect like blood and people getting their heads cut off and people getting shot, the standard, you know. But there's something about the thumbs in the eye sockets like that just feels icky. Ugh. So I have to give that warning again that they do show it again, and it's graphic again. So yeah, the zombie dad kills the mom, and I have to refer to him as the zombie dad now because no one kills him, and he's the one that is like spreading everything. But okay, I want to backtrack to the part where I said that he's somehow smart, in that I think he's trying to find his family, because like for the rest of the movie, because now the base is under attack and stuff with like zombies around, and they have the military is now the villains, and they're like more of the villains than the zombies, kind of. It's weird, at least until like a certain point, where they have this like code red thing where it's like they're trying to quarantine the people and like save the civilians, but then as the zombie dad gets in there and starts messing things up, and now all those people that were trapped together, the just normal civilians, are like turning into zombies. Now there's zombies everywhere. Cool. And then it gets too much, and then the characters, the military's like, okay, we're just gonna like order the soldiers to kill everyone. So then they have to shoot everyone, and that's actually kind of a dramatic scene. That was a bit sad, of these like snipers who were originally just not taking anything seriously. They were just kind of dicking around and whatever, didn't really even seem to care that the place that they're staying at, you know, had just gone through like a zombie apocalypse for the past like 28 weeks or whatever. Or it's not the exact number. They give like a weekly update or whatever at like the beginning of the movie of like how things spread and when important things happen, how we get to the point of between the first movie and this one of like, okay, now the American military is here and they're having this operation trying to save everybody and restore the country back to normal. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so they have to like shoot everybody, and Jeremy Renner is like one of these snipers, and he's like, yeah, fuck this, I'm not gonna go and shoot all these innocent people. But it's because like they also can't tell the difference from those areas of like who's a zombie and who's a human, and it's just, everything's just spreading too fast. But the military does like a terrible job with it in this movie, actually, where they end up blowing up like a certain district, as they call it, but the zombies end up getting out of that district. Like the main characters escape, and then the zombies escape out of there so they don't die, and then they try to gas the zombies, but I don't think they get all of them. It's just, I don't know, man. So yeah, Jeremy Renner his character becomes like the main character at this point, and he ends up finding those two kids, and there's also this doctor lady who is like the only person who's aware of like, yeah, their mom, you know, was immune, which means the kids might be immune, which is true. At least one of the kids is immune. The audience knows that, but like the characters don't know. So her mission now is like, okay, we have to protect these kids. Her and Jeremy Renner's character, they're like determined to protect these two kids in case they can, you know, eventually save humanity or whatever. And that's it. That's like the characters. And there's like a couple of other people that also tag along, but you know, they get like killed by zombies throughout the movie. And then from there, it's just trying to get to like some specific safety zone where there's like this guy with a helicopter, who's like he's like another military dude who's like friends with Jeremy Renner's character, and he's kind of funny with him at first, and then he doesn't want to help the other people because he doesn't know them, and that's fair. They could be infected for all they know. One of the things that bothered me with this movie is that characters are constantly getting covered in blood, but then they're not turning into zombies, because that was like a very clear thing in the first movie of like, if you get literally even one drop of blood from an infected person on you, like in your eyes or in your mouth or it's saliva or whatever, you're screwed. You have like 10 to 20 seconds you're gonna turn into a zombie. And they do seem to follow that rule in like, or if you get like bit or something in the flashback at the beginning of this movie, but then people are getting covered in blood and it doesn't do anything. They have blood. I mean, we don't see the blood go like directly into their eyes and mouth. It ends up on like their cheek and stuff, but still, the fact that these people are just running around and there's like blood on them and stuff, and they're not really even careful about it. Like the little boy who's immune, he's like technically the most important character in the movie. He has blood on him the entire time, and like I don't know if he's aware if he's immune I don't think he knows that he's immune, because later he ends up getting infected and he asks his sister if he's going to turn into a zombie, and she can tell he's infected, but she says no anyway, because she doesn't want to have to kill him, and plus he doesn't turn into a zombie immediately because he's a carrier, but like I don't think either of them realize. But yeah, he has blood on him the entire time, and you know, I'm assuming if like that got into someone's eye or whatever, they would turn into a zombie. They literally go by like a river at one point. He never cleans the blood off. There's like some other people in their group that also have blood on them that never clean their blood off. It's also kind of weird too, because that kid has blood on him, and there's like a couple times in the movie where his sister like bends down to hug him, where her face is like really close to him and nothing happens to her. There's like another part where he like whispers in her ear and nothing happened. I feel like, it's kind of funny. It's like a weird scale where, like, in the first movie, it was like literally one drop of blood and it's in your eyes and mouths and you're screwed, and it happens in like the weirdest ways. And then in this one, it's like people have blood on them and it doesn't matter because it's not going in their eyes and mouths. But the fact that there's so much blood and like people end up in close contact, it's like in the first movie everyone was like super duper careful, which was great because, they're in a zombie movie. And then in this one, it's like no one's really careful, and I'm like waiting for someone to get infected or whatever. But yeah, there were a couple of cool things, to be fair. The part when they're in the car and the zombies are being gassed and the gas is going by the car and they're seeing the zombies spew up blood on their window and dying outside as they're like frantically trying to get the car started. That was cool. That was the point when Jeremy Renner's character ends up getting killed because the military lights him on fire. That was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting that. There's a part where the guy that's in the helicopter, I don't remember what his name is, but he ends up like taking the characters to like safety or whatever. He mows down these zombies that are in a field with the helicopter blades, and it like cuts all their heads off and stuff and cuts them in half, and the zombies are still able to like move around even when they're separated from their bodies and stuff. That was pretty cool. I think my favorite sequence in the whole movie is actually the end. I actually thought before I got to the ending, I just assumed it was being set up like everyone was going to die or the kids were going to be like the final survivors. One of those is like technically true, kind of. It's a little confusing. Because it was like the doctor lady ends up dying in this nighttime segment I'm about to talk about in the ending, and Jeremy Renner's character, and then it's just the two kids, but at that point the movie's like already over, and the boy gets infected, and then it like kind of goes bad from there. But there's this part when the doctor lady, because like they've already lost Jeremy Renner's character, so they don't have anyone with actual like gun experience to help them. It's just this doctor lady with the gun and these two kids, and they have to go in the subway and in like the underground and stuff, and they have to go down these stairs. And I really liked the way it was shot, where it's super dark in there, there's no lights, there's like zombie bodies on the floor and stuff, so they can't see, but the gun, it has the scope thing with like a night vision thing or whatever, and she's able to look through it, and then she can see the kids, they're in like front of her walking, and she can see, so she's using that as like a light source, to like guide them basically. It's kind of funny I'm saying that, like it was kind of obvious to me, and my mom was like, because my parents were watching this movie, with both of them, with this, which is kind of funny because they kept like yelling. They both my parents, but especially my mom, kept yelling at the TV about like stupid things the characters were doing. My mom at one point said something of like, why weren't the characters behind her? Because they both end up actually tumbling down the stairs and they meet a zombie and things go bad. But I assumed she had the kids in front of her because the kids couldn't see, only the doctor lady could see, and she was able to guide them, because if they're behind her, it's like they can't see and there's bodies in the ground, so it's actually good they're in front of her, because she was literally telling them where to step. That's how much they couldn't see, so it just made sense to me. But anyway, when she's looking through the scope on the gun, you actually get to see what she sees, so it's basically like the movie for a bit is in like this sort of night vision thing, where you can see the bodies, and the kids look at her and their eyes are kind of lit up by the lights and stuff of how she's able to see them. That visually was just really cool, actually, and it's like a good sense of like horror and kind of suspense too. It's like completely quiet in that scene except for these kids, except that the teenage girl keeps screaming because she keeps touching bodies with her foot. And then you see the kids fall down the stairs, and then the doctor is like shouting for them. She's trying to find out where they are. And then a zombie pops up. I think it's the dad and the dad zombie, and the doctor gets attacked, and then the teenage girl picks up the gun. So now you're seeing the night vision stuff, but it's from the teenage girl's perspective, and she's watching the dad zombie kill the doctor on the floor, and the girl doesn't think to shoot or anything, because at that point I don't think she realizes that the zombie is her dad, because she's looking through like the night vision thing. But yeah, that whole section's cool, and sometimes you see people drop the gun and then it's as if someone dropped the camera on the side. That visually was like, or I think just in general was my favorite part of the movie, because it felt kind of suspenseful and stuff. But then the teenage girl loses track of her brother, and then her brother gets attacked by the dad and she has to shoot him, and then the boy's infected. And that's when it's just weird to me with the zombie dad, because every so often you see him have you see his perspective and he has like flashbacks of his wife. I think he's just like permanently haunted by her eyes. It's more so of like the look she gives him when he left her behind, that just remains with him forever, I guess, even as a zombie or something. And you see close-ups of eyes, of like he's looking at people's eyes. I think he's like trying to find his wife or trying to find his kids or something, because he sees his son, and his son has the two different colored eyes, the blue and brown like the mom does. And then he attacks his son. But then it's weird because like I think his daughter tells him to stop attacking the son, and he thinks he's hearing his wife, and he actually like stops attacking, and I was like, whoa, are the zombies able to like think or something? And then she shoots him. So I don't know, it was just kind of a weird thing where he seems like actually intelligent and the other zombies seem like kind of mindless. Not that he has like the human level intelligence still, but it just seemed like it was set up like he's actually able to remember things a little bit, or like he's trying to find something, because he keeps popping up around the movie and he keeps ending up in the places where his kids are, like he's trying to find them. But by the end of the movie, he just attacks his son anyway. So it still just felt completely unclear to me what they were trying to set up with the zombie dad. So they end up killing him, and the boy's infected, and I mean, I don't think the kid knows really what's going on exactly. I mean, he's not so little that he's like defenseless or whatever. I mean, he's scared the whole time, but he's actually pretty brave. He's a lot braver than a lot of the adults in the movie anyway. But he asks his sister if he's gonna like turn into a zombie or something, and she literally sees one of his eyes and it gets messed up, like how the mom's was, like one of the eyes, I think the brown one, turns like partially red or something, which the audience knows signifies that he's like a carrier. But I don't think the teenage girl knows, but she's like determined not to lose her brother. It's funny with these two kids where for the whole movie the only thing they're focused on, besides trying to like at first find their mom or something and like wondering where their dad is that they just want to stay together. That's it. All the other characters and the adults and stuff are worried of like, oh shit, there's zombies everywhere, we're fucked. But like not these two kids, and they end up being the last two survivors. And then they end up getting rescued by the guy in the helicopter, and the guy, you think it's gonna be fine, except that the kid's infected, so things are kind of screwed from there. And then you get this title card thing that says 28 weeks later, and then you see that the helicopter is crashed and the zombies are now in Paris, but you don't see the two kids. You assume that the helicopter crashed, probably that somehow the kid, something related to blood and saliva happened, and he probably killed his sister, probably turned into a zombie, or the helicopter pilot, and probably killed the rest or something. But now there's zombies in Paris because you see the Eiffel Tower, and that's it, and that's where the movie ends. But it was weird to me because that was the point when the 28 weeks later popped up. But I thought the 28 weeks later, because the title meant like that was the start of the movie after the flashback of like the people are coming back to London and stuff. But yeah, this kid, just because this kid ends up being as a carrier, just like with his mom, it ends up spreading the disease, and now there's zombies everywhere. So this sequel almost just feels useless, besides feeling very generic and not the same vibe as the first one. It seems kind of useless anyway, in that the only progression is now that there's zombies in Paris or something. I actually feel a little confused with that. Maybe the third movie explains it. I haven't watched it at this point, obviously. Because in the first movie, Selena says something about like hearing on the radio of that there was possibly infected people in like New York and Paris or something. But then you have this guy that's changed up in a basement who says something about like, oh, of course they quarantined this diseased little island. What are you gonna do? And basically that England's been abandoned by the rest of the world. But then, which, I mean, I guess that's true, because then the American government or the military shows up in this one and starts like trying to help people. But now they have this big thing at the end of this one of like, oh, there's zombies in like France now because of this kid being the carrier, and we see the Eiffel Tower. But like they'd mentioned in the first movie that France was already like infected anyway, so like which is it? Is it that England's been quarantined and abandoned by the world this whole time, and now with the end of this one it's like, okay, there's zombies everywhere? Or is it that it was already infected the rest of the world or something, but we're only focusing on England? I don't know. It's like kind of confusing. But yeah, it feels kind of useless, because like this one started setting up of like, yeah, the last of the zombies have like starved and died, and it's cool. But then it's like, uh-oh, this one lady who is a carrier turns out has the infection, and then there's the physical contact, and whoops, now there's zombies everywhere again. And then her son ends up infected, and then he spreads the disease, and it still seems like it's the same disease or something. I thought it was going to be that maybe it was like a stronger variant or whatever, because now there's like, I guess, people who are immune, or I guess maybe it's only certain people that have been immune this whole time. Like, does that mean in the first movie there was like no one that had the thing where you have different colored eyes or something? I don't know, that still just seems kind of like a weird premise to me anyway, of like there's specific people that are immune and are carriers, and that it just feels like kind of an excuse to start up the, rather than like, oh, okay, we're gonna use that to find a cure, kind of like The Last of Us or something. Instead it's like, okay, that's just gonna be an excuse to start up the zombies again, you know. So yeah, this one starts off with like, everything's cool, and then the kids mess it up, and now we're back to square one of there's zombies everywhere. So I don't know how 28 years later is gonna go, because that's like a pretty big gap between like weeks and years. So now it's been like almost 30 years, but we'll see. I wonder if the characters from the first movie, like Jim, Hannah, and Selena, come back as well, or if this is one of those series where like every movie we just have different main characters. Because with the ending of the first one, it's like they got picked up, I think, or they got noticed by a helicopter, so you assume they got rescued. But I don't know, maybe we just never see them again or something. I did like with the first one, it was just like a group of random people, but here it's more of like, okay, we gotta protect these two kids. I was actually hoping that the kids were gonna get eaten by a zombie or something. I know that sounds really mean, but it's like, they're literally the ones that caused people to die, because they went to their house to get the photo, and they found their mom, and then their dad, I guess I should mostly blame their dad. He left his wife behind, and then she got infected, and she's a carrier, and then he got turned into a zombie by her. You know, not on purpose, obviously. The funny thing is, like, if he took his wife, like, if he, like, because he was in the same, to set up the context from what I remember, he was in the same room as, like, the little kid and his wife, and the wife was able to coax the kid out of the place he was hiding. If he had just like waited a couple seconds when his wife did that and grabbed, I mean, the zombies were coming, but, or if he had, like, I don't know, grabbed his wife by the hand and whatever, or something, found some way to get her out of there, because then she's still alive for a bit. She's like banging on the window of being like, why'd you leave me here? instead of just when he ran, you know, she would have survived and she wouldn't have been bitten and there wouldn't have been any carrier, and, you know, because the kid wouldn't have ran off or whatever, the zombies would have starved off, and that literally would have been the end of it. But no, this guy had to abandon his wife, and that caused the chain and fucked everything up. Yeah, but we'll see what it's like for the next movie. But I don't even know if I can say I feel disappointed by this, because this is only like the first of the sequels, so I don't know if it's just like this one's a bad egg or if they just get worse from here. I mean, there's like 2 others, and they like just recently made the Bone Temple at like the time I'm recording this, so I'm assuming it gets better from here. I kind of miss Cillian Murphy in these. I kind of hope his character Jim comes back. Not that Jim was great or anything, but he was kind of interesting to watch. But yeah, we'll see. All right, bye-bye.